One of the Bible stories that's always been a conundrum to me is the story of the blind man Jesus healed in Bethsaida. Now, what had happened was a few people brought a blind man to Jesus and begged him to heal the man. And first of all, Jesus took the man by hand and led him out of the village. And I'm thinking to myself, why would he do that? Then he spat on the man's eyes and asked him if he could see anything. And the man said, well, I can see people walking around like trees. Then he put his hands on the man's eyes again and the man could see clearly. Does this sound like Jesus to you? It seems a bit odd to me because this is a man that said, Lazarus, come forth, and raised a dead man at once from his grave. This is a man that said, Talitha Kumi, and raised a little girl from her dead bed. This is a man whose hem of his garment healed a sickness of 12 years. How then is it possible that he was unable to heal a blind man at once? I mean, when did Jesus get into the business of performing bot healing? Then I figured it out. True story. A young man that lived in a small town, let's call him John. John lost his job. Now, he couldn't pay his bills. Then he lost his home. His wife and their daughter had to move to her parents' house whilst he moved to his brother's house for a while. So one day he went out to the bar with his brother and a man of the Christian faith was preaching on TV. Now, this got his attention because what the man was talking about resonated with his situation. However, everybody else got irritated and changed the channel to a sports channel. And that's understandable because they were living in a small town where they didn't really believe in anything. They probably had a small community church that no one really attended. Everyone just lived as they saw fit. Now, a few months went by and he still couldn't get a job and things were getting worse. He had to leave his brother's house, but he had no money. So one day he was walking around from one business establishment to another, looking for work, and he came across a flyer of the same man he had seen on TV, holding a program somewhere around that town. So he decided to attend secretly because he didn't want to be mocked. After the program, he spoke to the man very briefly, got his email address, and then he bought a few books. He went home after that and started reading and praying. Every time he tried to discuss it with his brother would discourage him and say to him, all these things are lies, it's false, it's not real. These people are motivational speakers, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. After a few months, he was praying and nothing was happening and he was getting quite discouraged. One day he got so frustrated, he sent the man of God an email calling him a scam. A few weeks later, the man responded and said to him and invited him to his church in a big city. Then he said to him he could stay in the church hostel for a few months so as to mingle with other people of the same faith. After about 2 months of staying in the church, things had started to change. He was now amongst like-minded people that encouraged him, shared their own experiences with him and prayed with him. At this point, he had gotten a job, not a major job, a small job, but enough to sustain him. However, he was taking short courses to boost his skills. There are two major factors that can affect a man's faith and progress. The first is his environment. Now, some environments, meaning people, places, and things, are not conducive enough to receive what you're praying about. If you're looking to improve your relationship with God, but still hang around unbelievers, you're wasting your time because they'll discourage you. If you've made a resolution to drink less or stop drinking at all, and you still hang out at bars, you're not ready yet. If you're looking to achieve more out of life, but you spend the whole day scrolling through social media, it's a pointless decision, which was why Jesus had to first of all lead the blind man out of Bethsaida, his environment. This was the same town Jesus had fed a crowd with 7 loaves of bread and a few fish, yet they were still full of unbelief. He then went on to say to his disciples, do you still not perceive or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Do you have eyes and fail to see? Do you not remember? Because every time they faced a problem, they would still panic, forgetting every single miracle Jesus had performed before them. After the healing, Jesus told the blind man who could now see not to return to the village where he could get discouraged, then lose his faith, hence lose his healing, but to go home where he could spend time in reflection. The second factor is vision. When you pray, you have to have faith to receive, but faith is invisible, which means whatever it is you're praying to see on the outside, you must already see it inside. It must be visible on the inside, in your heart, which was why Jesus healed the blind man twice. He wasn't only blind in his eyes, he was also blind in his heart, mostly as a product of his environment. So first, he had to heal his heart, his inner eyes, to strengthen his vision and faith to receive the healing of his physical eyes. Namaste.